President Kim, any comments about denuclearization?
What are you signing, sir?
Sir, we're going to be announcing that in a couple of minutes.
Mr. Kim, we
Mr. Kim?
denuclearize.
Well, as you heard the president say there, we'll be finding out in a couple of minutes. We're still yet to find out what that signing's about, but as soon as we do, we'll tell you. But in the meantime, I know I can speak to James Crabtree, who's an associate professor of practice from the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, also a former journalist, I believe, James. So you've been enjoying this summit over the last 2 days or so, building up to this morning. We know there's international media, some 2,500 media have gathered here. They've been watching this as we've been watching this. What have you made of it all?
Well, I think you have to say that this, from what they call the optics, this has been very successful. Everything looked great. The two men looked like they were getting on just fine. None of the wheels fell off, no cars crashed. Everything went pretty much perfectly. However, as well as being what Mr. Trump calls a terrific and fantastic summit, you also have to say this has been an elegant exercise in expectations management. It was only 3 or 4 days ago that people were still talking about the South Korean president arriving, them staying for a number of days. Relative to that, this has been quite a short affair. They met only for about an hour. They've had 4 hours in each other's company. They're going home. And I think we'll be surprised if whatever this document is turns out to have anything of real substance in it.
So you're saying that this document will likely not have too much substance. This has all been about optics, as we've heard other analysts say as well, a big PR stunt with little substance behind it?
I think it was reasonable to expect this first meeting to be short on substance and heavy on symbolism. I mean, it is an amazing thing, even that this happened, that Kim came out of his home country, even that Mr. Trump came here. It's a remarkable moment. You've called it historic. I think that fits the bill. Nonetheless, this is a very difficult problem, and I think we're going to look for what will the North Koreans say to convince people that they are moving in the other direction on their nuclear program. No one thinks they're going to get rid of it, but are they going to make that sing? But they're going to have some nice language. Are they actually going to do anything concrete? Then what can the Americans do to convince the North Koreans that they give them some faith the other way around? I think this is going to be a long, drawn-out process. People talk about 10, 15 years to do this denuclearization thing. So this is really a first step. So I think one ought to be a little skeptical. Maybe Mr. Trump will pull a rabbit out of the hat, but I think we need to wait and see what he says. And I suspect it will be in the warm words in the right direction, but nothing terribly dramatic.
All right, well, we'll try to find out what that rabbit is as soon as we know what they signed. But we keep hearing, as you say, this long drawn-out process, this much very complex affair, and of course it's being described as what the US are seeking, which is complete, verifiable, irreversible denuclearization. It's actually being called CVID. They've even got an acronym for this now. So, I mean, are they going to get anywhere close to achieving that from the North Koreans?
No, I mean, I think you have to view this as a sort of poetic aspiration in the same way that leaders in the West talk about the fact that they want to have a nuclear-free world. Which of course they do, but they don't want to do all of the things that requires them giving up their nuclear weapons. The same is true with Kim. He's not going to give up his nuclear weapons. He'd be stupid to do that. What he might do is send realistic signals that he's going to be less aggressive with them and become a kind of stable, normal nuclear power. So just think about it in a different way. Think of the Iran deal. Trump hates the Iran deal, says it's a complete failure. The Iran deal is a walk in the park compared to this. You're just convincing a country that doesn't have nuclear weapons not to get them. Right. North Korea's already got them. You've got to take them out of Kim's hands. It's very difficult, and he doesn't want to give them up. Why would he? So, it's a very complicated thing that they've set up. Nonetheless, I mean, I don't want to, come across as a complete wet blanket. What has been achieved here today is much greater than many people thought was possible. And so, it is a moment of optimism that this is happening, and clearly a moment of great change in this region.
Indeed, certainly. Thank you so much for that, James Crabtree, there, for joining us. And as you heard him say, a moment of great change potentially. The optics are there. They have been looking incredibly positive. President Trump himself saying the meeting went very, very